Nebuchadnezzar was a powerful king of Babylon. The time of his reign was 600 years before the birth of Christ, and the size of his empire was very great indeed. Within the royal court were people of many different languages and customs, people that had been conquered by the king and then forced to help him rule. On one occasion, King Nebuchadnezzar summoned the various rulers of the provinces to gather in the court, and he watched them assemble from his royal pavilion. This was a special occasion, and no one would dare not to come.
Do as they say. Will we ever return to Jerusalem?
Jeremiah promised that one day we would.
In the meantime, what do we do? Just bow our heads and serve this monster? I can't do it anymore.
Think about our people, Azariah. As long as we're in the king's court, we can help them. Imprisoned or dead, we can't.
Nebuchadnezzar destroyed God's temple, forced us into exile. My name is Azariah, he who is helped by God. Well, I call upon God to help me now.
He'll kill you if you won't bow.
The king stood up. The great moment had arrived. By standing, the king was giving the signal that the court was to come to order. Trumpeters stepped forward and sounded a royal fanfare. And the herald, whose job it was to read the official announcements, stepped forth with a big scroll in his hands. And the captains and the princes and the governors all stood very quietly, waiting to hear what the message from the king would be. And as they listened, they heard the herald read, "O people, nations, languages, hear ye the king's command." And the herald went on to tell them that the king had had a gigantic statue made in his own likeness. The statue was 90 feet tall and made of gold. This was to be their God. At the sound of the musical instruments, everyone was to bow down and worship the golden image. And the next thing the people heard was enough to put fear in the hearts of even the bravest men. "Whoso falleth not down and worshipeth the image of the king shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning, fiery furnace."
I will not worship that. No!
When the musical instruments played, the people fell down and worshiped the golden image, just as the king had commanded them to do. Two Chaldeans were worshiping close together when suddenly one of them saw something that made him tug at the other one's robe in an effort to get his attention. "Look," the Chaldean said, "it's just as we thought. The three of them, see? They're not bowing down. They're refusing to worship the golden image." And the Chaldean was absolutely right. Three young princes, the rulers of the capital city itself, were openly disobeying the king. These men had been brought as captives from the distant land of Judah. Their names had been changed, and because of their abilities, they had been given high positions within the kingdom. Hananiah, beloved of God, was called Shadrach, or Circuit of the Sun. Mishael's cherished name was changed from one who is like God to the heathen name Meshach, meaning sun god. And Azariah, whose name meant "The Lord is my help," came to be known as Abednego, the god of commerce. Nebuchadnezzar had changed the names of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, but their hearts remained the same. These men believed in Jehovah as the one, the Almighty God. And to kneel down before an image was something God had told them never to do. The two Chaldeans lost no time reporting what they had seen to the king. They were jealous of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they slyly reminded King Nebuchadnezzar that these men that had refused to bow down before the image were the very men the king had placed over the affairs of Babylon. "How dare these men disobey me?" shouted the king. "Bring them here. Bring them here at once."
With all our hearts we follow you.
Bow your heads!
And seek your presence. With all my heart I follow you. I fear you. I seek your presence.
Bring them!
Oh, my friends, your faith will be tested now.
Daniel! What's wrong with them? Why will your friends not bow to me?
I assure you, sire, they will serve you faithfully, all their lives, as I will, but... But they will only worship God.
I will make them bow.
With all our heart we follow you. We fear you. We seek your presence. With all our heart we follow you. We seek your presence.
When we wish to bend something that is hard and unyielding, what do we do with it? We put it into the fire.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were hurried to the royal pavilion, and the king asked if it were true that they had refused to bow down and worship the golden image. And they told the king, yes, that it was true. King Nebuchadnezzar's pride was about the most important thing he had. And for these three young men to openly disobey him, even in the face of death, was a serious blow to a man of his importance. So the mighty ruler of the vast Babylonian Empire decided he would give the men another chance. If only they would do as they had been told, he would forgive them for their disobedience. But the brave young men replied, "Our God is able to deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he chooses not to, we will never serve your gods or worship your golden image."
Take him!
We fear you, and we seek your presence.
Burn them! Majesty, no! Burn them! What? No! Bring oil! Come! Fire! Bring me fire!
Hear my cry. Cords of death entangle me. The anguish of the grave consumes me. Do not ignore my tears. I am overcome by sorrow. I call upon the name of the Lord. Lord, save me!
The king was furious. He commanded the furnace be made 7 times hotter than it usually was. And he ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be taken to the furnace and put to death for their willful disobedience. And it wasn't long until the fiery furnace was made 7 times hotter than it usually was. And the 3 young men from Judah were securely tied, and one by one they were thrown into the midst of the flames. Shadrach, who was Hananiah, the beloved of God. Meshach, who was Mishael, or one who is like God. And Abednego, the one whose real name was Azariah. The Lord is my help. And when the soldiers had thrown them in, they turned and ran from the terrible heat. But before they could escape, the flames leaped out of the furnace and burned them to a crisp. And then the king saw something that made him jump to his feet. He couldn't believe it was possible. No, it couldn't be. Forgetting about his dignity and his pride, King Nebuchadnezzar ran with the rest of the people to get a better look at the strange thing that had happened.
My enemies will be gone. They will turn back in shame.
Why do they not burn?
Look, shouted the king. Do all of you see what I see? Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? I see 4, and they're loose and walking around, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. And King Nebuchadnezzar knew in his heart that Jehovah was the true and the living God. And he called to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to come forth, to come out of the flame.
People of Judah, rise! God is with us! He's with us! God is with us.
The 3 Hebrew boys walked out of the furnace unharmed by all they had been through. Not a single hair of their heads was singed. They didn't even smell of smoke. Nebuchadnezzar fell to his knees, and he lifted up his head and cried, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath delivered his servants who trusted in him." And shortly thereafter, a new decree was read to all the nations under Nebuchadnezzar's rule. No one was to speak against the God of the brave young men from Judah. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were promoted to even higher places within the kingdom. But their real happiness was in their freedom to worship God.